Well, there are hopeful signs that the public servants' wage dispute will soon be resolved. Health workers union Nehawu has rejoined the negotiating table after their strike last week, which led to violence and disruption at various government hospitals. They are rejoining other public servants' unions that have kept talking all along. Now, the offer on the table, originally around 3%, seems to have moved quite substantially. I'm joined now by teachers' union SADTU. The secretariat officer is Xolani Fakude. Xolani, thank you so much for joining us. So am I correct then that all the unions, even unions like Nehawu and some of the other unions that were out on strike, everyone is back at the negotiating table?
Well, firstly, let me greet you, Sally. Let me greet the viewers of eNCA as well. And perhaps just to put it into context, that it is not necessarily about other unions being back at the negotiating table or so. It is about the fact that there are some unions, actually the majority of public service unions, 53% of the majority of the workers in the public service had been continuing, by the way, to negotiate. We have been there on the negotiating table. What rather happened at a later stage, which we find quite regrettable and we are speaking quite sharply against it, is whereby we saw the administration of the PSCBC, which is now our collective bargaining chamber, rather initiating a parallel process which does not necessarily include the other 53% of the unions. So what we are saying, therefore, Salim, is that the improvement of the offer, as you see it right now, we started on the 17th of February. We have been in the negotiating chamber. In fact, as things stand right now, there isn't necessarily have been an agreement because we got the latest offer from the employer, which was only yesterday. And today, our special National Executive Committee met, and they only now are going to take the new improved offer, in our view, back to our members. So the fact of the matter, Salim, is that SADTU, as a union, and other unions as well, have been on the negotiating table ever since this discussion started. And we feel that, by the way, part of the improvement efforts that we see is essentially about the work that we have been in good faith that we have been doing in the negotiating chamber.
Are you able to tell us about the latest offer that you received yesterday?
Yeah, well, I mean, briefly we can tell you, Sally, the fact of the matter is that we started from about 4.7%, and now we have moved to an offer which is actually very close towards what our members would have given us as the rock bottom or the bare minimum. So at this stage, Reda Salim, one would say that we are going to be sending out communication because we are a worker-controlled union. So to also be fair to our members, perhaps let us also engage them so that they can tell us what they think on the revised order, on the revised offer. But what I can tell you is that the offer has been revised. In our view, the offer has substantially improved from where we were, where the employer started, which really shows that our tactic, our strategy to negotiate in good faith and to understand the acute socio-economic challenges of the country probably be bearing fruit, because we are getting close to what we call our rock bottom.
Am I right that that's around 7%?
You would not be too far from the truth. In fact, Sally, you might be, in essence, getting very, very close to the truth. But then there are going to be some communication processes and protocols that will also be in a position to engage on with our members who give us the mandate, because we remain a worker-driven union.
All right. So we know that SADTU, your union, sharply criticised Nehawu for going out on this violent strike, which was eventually interdicted, and it was confirmed that essential workers cannot go out on strike. You're saying, well, you stuck it out, you stayed at the negotiating table, you kept on putting that pressure on. But the timing looks a little bit like only when things got violent and destructive did government bend to what you were asking. What's your comment?
Well, that would be absolutely untrue, Salim. In fact, one can say that that is quite a view which is very far from the truth. In our view, Salim, government got to where it got right now, primarily because of the engagement within a legitimate process of the PSCBC not a parallel process. But then also, Sally, to maybe also correct some of the sentiments, we never were necessarily against another union implementing its own mandate from its own members, if that is the case. What we were fundamentally against, and we still are right now, is the bullying tactics.
Yes, no,
we
that's
are
clear.
saying that you should allow us, absolutely, you should allow us as an autonomous union as well to engage our members.
Yeah. So tell me about the timing. Completely. Well. No, I think that did come across when you made that criticism of Nehawu. It was the violence and intimidation that you were really opposed to. In fact, as was SADTU, interestingly enough, they too were not happy with the way some members had conducted themselves. But talk to me about the timing. It does somewhat create an impression that only when you get violent and intimidating does government actually really come to the table.
Well, we can tell you, Sally, that it's 53%. 53% of the public servants right now who are in the PSCBC legitimately would not necessarily agree with that view. We do not believe that it was due to any other action outside of the public sector bargaining chamber. So we are insistent, Sally, that yes, indeed, we saw some unfortunate circumstances, etc. But you should also remember that ourselves as SADTU, for instance, we started at a very, very high level. I mean, we started from 10%. And right now we are moving towards what we can call our rock bottom, according to our National Executive Committee and according to our members. So many of us, 53% of us, Sally, would say that we do not think that is the case. It is not because of some industrial action that might have got violent or so, but it is because of the negotiations in good faith and the facts that we kept on presenting.
Were you concerned?
The employer to this point.
Yeah. Were you concerned at some point that, in fact, that violent strike might actually worsen your negotiating chances?
Well, remember, Sally, when you've got other workers in the chamber, and others which is legitimate and constitutional, and others deliberately not in the chamber, already you are dividing the workers. So what we would want to say in that particular is that yes, we were indeed worried that at some point this could rather weaken our case. I mean, it is a fact. We all would want to speak in one voice. As the workers. It then becomes very unfortunate when others seem to be employing other tactics that even go as far as bullying, literally, members of other unions to join an action which they've got no mandate on.
Yeah, unity is strength, as they say. So very quickly, this revised offer is going out to all the public servants' unions. It's very close to around 7%, but obviously there's lots of other issues within it, because we know that there's been a history of mistrust because government reneged on that third year of the wage deal, then imposed 3% last year without much negotiation. How confident are you, and how soon do you think there's going to be an answer from the union members? Well,
we've got very, very efficient processes, Sally. Like I said, that we just had a special National Executive Committee today that was precisely designed to really look into the latest offer. So we believe that in a matter of a few days, our members are going to give us feedback, because we use multiple platforms, from digital to even going as far as having branch meetings, because we believe and we are very passionate about how we see ourselves as a worker control union. So what we are saying, therefore, Salim, is that we are still in negotiations. There is no agreement yet. We are going to go back to our members, like we are already starting now. And when we have started today, we are going to go to our members, give them the latest offer. And we believe that in a matter of days, because we also have got a keen interest to finalize this as a matter of urgency. By the way, it is not only the cost of living adjustment offer which we have tabled. We are still demanding, by the way, as the workers, we're still working around a single term. And of course, we know that the employer came from a 3-year term, and that was to deal also part with the trust issues. However, we are looking into all of those. Our National Executive Committee today took a particular directive, and it was on the basis of the consideration of the facts that are really, not rhetoric, Sally, not political speak, but facts which are here and are existing. So we believe that in a matter of days, we are very confident that we would have reached an agreement. That is after our members would have given us the mandate. Yes, absolutely, because they have the final say. Thank you so much for speaking to us this evening. That, of course, is the Teachers' Union's SADTU's Xolani Fakude.
a new offer going out to public servants unions, and hopeful that in a couple of days there will be a response, and a positive one at that.